The idea of sales and marketing is really simple to me. There's two approaches to product. One is you're sharing your experience and being visible. And this is the idea of build it and they will come, like from the movie Field of Dreams, or John Lennon, the John Lennon approach, or the Gandhi approach, or the Martin Luther King Jr. approach, or the kind of approach we're talking about here, which any of us can use. We don't have to be as unique as those people because we can be as unique as we are. Or the other approach is trying to get people to do what you want them to do. In other words, buy from me, believe my stuff, or do what I want. And if you're going to do that, it requires marketing and it requires sales approaches. If you're not, you don't need to do any of those things because you're just sharing your experience and being visible. However, there are certain communications laws or rules or whatever where people need to understand what you're talking about and they need to resonate with it. And that's what More Money Now product is all about. It's about recognizing what you have that matters. And that's got to start with you. So the resonant product resonates with you, not what will work. Now you can start with what will work. There's nothing wrong with it. But you're a wealth extractor or an opportunist if you do that. Not that those things are necessarily bad. I think they can cause harm, but I'm not judging anything morally. I'm just saying if you want to be really successful and you want it to be a permanent success and you want product market fit and you want to avoid constant change and the impact of change in a negative way on you, the change is going to be there. It's just if you have product market fit and resonance, the change won't matter. You'll be fine because the product resonates with you and you're in the market with the market, and the market and you flex together. You've come together in the market. You can't do that with marketing. You can't do that with extracting money or wealth out of a market. You're not with them. You're marketing to their pain to try to get them to do what you want. That's what we do in the society. We're okay with this. And I think what I'm just saying is there's an alternative. We've always had this alternative. It's just most people don't know, or if they know, they don't want to do it because they're having trouble trusting themselves or they're not willing to do the work to figure out what's resonant for them. So instead, they're thinking, what's the trend? What's the fad? How can I get people to do what I want? And they're out marketing or selling, and they're using as many tactics and techniques as they can find until they find something that works. Some are just plain opportunists where there's nothing there at all. It's just an empty suit, all hat, no cattle, or a fake prophet, false prophet, fake guru, whatever you want to call it. So there really is nothing there. But some of them extract a lot of wealth. Others, there is something there, but they don't have confidence or enough confidence. They seem confident. But if you're really confident, like John Lennon kind of confident, then what do you need to do marketing for? Just trust. If you build it, they will come if you're visible. So what's the pathway to product? What, who, and why? And what's the outcome of getting what, who, and why right? You're ready to connect with the market because you know what resonates with you. And then you can start to figure out what resonates with them, who the right people are, in other words. So the learning approach about product is to spend some time with yourself. There's a gap between getting there and starting. And the gap is a void. And the void is uncertainty, which is, I don't know yet. If you shortcut the gap, which is the creative process to get to an answer, which is what most of us want to do, particularly entrepreneurs, because we're impatient, you're going to screw up your product because you're going towards what will work too quickly, as opposed to what is resonant for you, what's resonant for me. In other words, unlearning the speed approach doesn't mean going slow because you're going to do a lot of this in the marketplace as you go to connect, which is stage 2 of More Money Now, fast. But you got to do stage 1 first, and a lot of people want to skip it. This is one of the biggest problems right now with the influencer economy is a lot of people don't teach 1 at all. They teach 2. So it's how to succeed. They go right to connect. How do you start your social media channel? How do you get big on YouTube? How do you get big on Instagram? How do you get big on LinkedIn? How do you network effectively? With what? With what? What's the product? We got to start with that. Belief is belief in yourself. Belief in somebody else's stuff. Like if you're an affiliate kind of person or multi-level marketing person, or you work for a company that has some stuff. I've done a lot of business development for other people. Or if you copied someone to come up with the product and you're selling it, there's a gap. And you may talk yourself into believing it, but I see these people as having imposter syndrome. So what happens is they don't really believe in themselves. All they're doing is they're trying to figure out how to make money. Everyone can see it, or at least I can, but a lot of people feel it and maybe don't even know why they want to run away from that person. Now, some of the multiple 7-figure, 8-figure successes who are imposters, they feel imposter syndrome, but they're good at hiding it. So they're out there on the stage, 7, 8-figure companies, and they're in therapy. Or they're spending a lot of time in their private mastermind groups talking about how screwed up their life is because they feel imposter syndrome, because they're missing their product connection, because they're selling something they don't really believe in, because you have to believe in yourself. If it's software, if it's coaching, if it's consulting, if it's an idea, if it's a community, if it's engineering, if it's janitorial services or whatever, it comes from inside your life experience. And if all you've done is put lipstick on a pig where you find anything, I'll sell you this pen. I remember going through an exercise where it's like, sell me this pen. That was the sales training. Why would I want to sell anybody a pen? I don't care about pens. That's why you start with what, not why. You start with what. What am I? What do I have? What is my unique combination of factors? My life experience and my observations is all I've got. Opinions, beliefs, convictions, thinking other people are like me and pitching that out in the marketplace. Be like me success is nothing. It doesn't mean anything. But my life experience, what I know, the things I've done, the places I've been, that's something. And that releases energy. Now, the energy systems, that's more red pill pathway stuff. I'm not going to get too deep into that here. We'll get way off track. But fundamentally, it's about knowing that energy system. Are you here to give people confidence? Are you here to help people feel better? Are you here to help people connect with themselves and each other? Are you here to help people get knowledge? Or are you here to help people get to truth and clarity, which is my energy type? Or what combination of that, and how does that interact with your life experience? What are the things you like to do? I've been studying martial arts since I was 20, in my 20s, late 20s. I talk about that all the time because it's part of me. Sailboat racing, same thing. Got really into that. Inner experience work, same. Understanding how markets work. I know a lot about that. I talk about that a lot. History. Spend a lot of time learning about history. Interact with that. Interrelate with that. Principles, foundations, laws. I get into that. So I talk about that. I interact with that. What is your combination of things? That's starting with what? And then you get to who. Who is not the marketing group that will buy your stuff. It's not, I was taught this, it's wrong. It's what's the avatar, what's the segment, what's the persona, what's the path to purchase. We don't need any of that stuff. Leave that to the marketing departments. Now, if you just work in a company and your job is just to sell stuff, then you're going to have to skip all this stuff I'm talking about, because they won't let you do it. They want to do just what will work. I worked for a marketing company like this where we did this big persona exercise, and the woman who was running it asked the marketing guys that I worked for, who wanted me to build out their company for them and do business development for them, what they did. And the guy said, "We manipulate people." And I thought, yeah, that's exactly what you do. And he was fine with it. So that was, my job was to sell how to manipulate people. And that's what I did. How do you manipulate people? They had market intelligence capabilities, they had data capabilities, and they had messaging capabilities, and how to get messages out, sort of. That wasn't their main thing, but it was analytics, marketing analytics company. How to manipulate people. That was what they had. So that's marketing. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about who resonates with you. Who do you want to be with? Who do you want in your life? I don't care what you got. If you're an entrepreneur, you get to pick. You don't have to do the marketing stuff. Now, if you work in a company, you may have to compromise. But I'm saying here, you don't have to compromise. You're an entrepreneur, a coach, a service provider. You do whatever you want. So you can skip all the marketing stuff. But you have to unlearn it, because this stuff is pretty powerful in our economy right now, where people think they have to do those things, and you don't. Let the marketers do the marketing. And then finish with why. Why? Why does this thing matter? Well, mine matters to me a lot. Does it matter to you? Well, it depends. That's not my job. My job is to know, what am I here for? Why am I here? What is it for? Who's it for? What is it? Who's it for? Well, what it is I know a lot about business development. I know a lot about marketing. I know a lot about sales. I know a lot about lead generation and prospecting and boom, 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 all of that. And I created a what where you don't do any of it. How did I get there? Well, I know how to do it all. Not always well, but I've done it. So I got to the what? Inner development. I spent a lot of inner development time. I went really deep. So I know a lot about it. I'm an expert in it because I know a lot about it. Now, I could go on and on with my example. I'm just giving you an example to think about yourself. Who's it for? Well, for me, it's entrepreneurs who want a better experience, coaches who want a better experience being self-employed so they can help people, and service providers who want a better experience being self-employed because they don't want crappy clients. They want good clients, and they don't want to become marketers or salespeople. I've never met a coach or service provider who wanted to become a marketer or a salesperson or a social media influencer. Not one. So finishing with why gets to why does it matter? So it matters to me because I want to create a world where everybody can be themselves who wants to. And anybody who wants to be self-employed can make as much money as they want and succeed doing that by being themselves. I care about that. Okay, well, that's a finish with why. Or simply, I like being around people who are being themselves and want to go down that road and are interesting. So that's part of my why. I can help people like this. I've got stuff built for people like this, or created, I should say, and a way to help people have a better experience. So I'm using this as an example for you to start asking yourself these questions of finish with why. Start with what, who comes next, and finish with why. It doesn't work if you don't know what you're doing, because there's another bus right behind you. It takes a while to smell a fraud. It takes a while to notice who are the false prophets. It takes a while to figure out who's glazing and who knows. It's very complex to see that. I can see it right away, but it's because I've been looking for a long time and I've been thinking about this for a long time. But a lot of people, I realize, can't. So they look at, it's called persuasion techniques. So they look at the authority of the person, the social proof, and there's all kinds of ways that you can get people to like you. The likability tricks. So creating an attractive character so people know, like, and trust you. All these marketing games. So what I'm saying is don't do any of that. Just know your stuff. And when the other buses come along, they're all decorated fancy and people get on them, but often the bus driver doesn't even like the people who are buying from them. So it doesn't last very long. Or it can last for a really long time until people see the Wizard of Oz and they're like, oh, you're full of shit. Oh, interesting. And then that person's kind of maybe fesses up and says, yeah, my life's been kind of a sham. And they wake up themselves, which is a beautiful thing to see. You see this all the time in the society of people who wake up and are like, wow, why did I do all that? That was crazy. Or the emperor has no clothes stuff. Same thing. And if you can't see the emperor has no clothes, you don't have to be that. You don't have to be an imposter with syndrome. Just know your stuff. What do you know? You know what your experience is. You know what you care about because it resonates. You're packaging that together in the product. That's the whole idea for a specific group of people, and then knowing why it matters to you first, and then them, and then how these things connect together around resonance and shared desire. Now, the market dynamics supports this because if someone takes care of someone because they get it, those people never go anywhere else. That's called transcending change. That's called moving beyond market shifts. The fads won't matter anymore. The technology adjustments and changes that I've struggled with myself my entire life of being in the market, marketing, selling, figuring it out. How do I get people to like me? How do I get people to follow me? What are the tricks? How do I do this? How do I do this? What are the hacks? And then everything changes. Google changes the algorithm. LinkedIn decides they want to do it differently, and I'm caught on the wrong side of that. YouTube shuts down my channel. Whatever the thing is, there's always a shift. There's always a change. People get sick of being a market authority and they want to find themselves, or people get sick of finding themselves and they want to make more money. And then you're chasing after the markets and the trends and all that. You don't have to do that. When you find your people and come together, product market fit creates a permanent solution to change as an entrepreneur, a coach, or service provider, because you'll flex with people within the market dynamic because you're unified now around a shared desire, which is to do the thing you all care about together. I know somebody who has a community that's talking about what I'm talking about, and they have gamification in the community. I'm like, what do you need gamification for? There's something wrong. That's marketing, trying to get people to do it. Why do they need to do it if they have the shared desire? They shouldn't even be there in the first place. And it's because they marketed it to them. So they signed up and they don't even want to be there. And they're trying to force them to participate in the community through gamification. So what's the problem with product? Where's the trap? So I call it the how trap. Focus on what, who, and why, and iterate how. What I've seen on social media and the influencer economy is everyone's teaching how. How are you going to know how if you're not doing it? There is no how. How is the moment. The moment of being in what, I know what I got, I know who it's for, I know why it matters, and I'm out there connecting. So that's stage 2, more money now. I iterate how in the moment. How am I supposed to know how I'm going to do this? Bob Proctor says this. No one who ever succeeded big knew how they were going to do it. Disney, Ford, Steve Jobs, Oprah, Joan of Arc. None of these people, Buddha, Jesus Christ, none of them. They had no idea how it was going to work. They were connected to themselves and they did the thing. They knew what they were, and who they were for, which was everyone in some of these cases, and why they mattered. And they iterated how in the moment. So avoid the how trap. The minute you start buying programs that include how-to steps, you're no longer paying attention to what, who, and why. So you're not up here looking around and saying, who am I? Why am I here? Who am I for? You're down here saying, how do I get more productive? How do I get more clients? You're chasing money. And that's the how trap. So, how do you construct a product? It's simple. Write down, what do I know? And then write down, who cares? And then write down, why do they care? And then start socializing that. You don't have to go out and get any clients, it'll just happen. You don't need to chase clients. Just think, what do I know? And think about who cares about it and start talking to them about what you care about and what they care about and see if there's any resonance. So that's connect and ask. So we're jumping ahead. We're in step one, stage two, connect, stage three, and ask. And then you want to know, why do they care? So product starts with, why do you care? But you also want to know why they care. If you care about something so strange and so obscure that no one else can understand it, you're never going to succeed. That's the creative genius that never took the step of figuring out why they had the thing they have. And we've seen this before, where the best people in the world have this incredible thing and they want to hide it. You got to be visible. So you got to figure out, but don't change the thing. You just adapt it or adjust it. So it's like an artist who starts to realize, nobody can hear what I can hear. Well, I'm not going to change my song, but maybe I'll change the way I'm presenting it. But you have to play with that and say, I still resonate with it. Because if you go off your own resonance, you're dead. Then you're just a marketer bringing something in the world to make money. Then you're just a suit, an empty suit in Hollywood, for example. So with product, what do I know, who cares, and why do they care is what you want to work on. So the level isn't important. So people will say, well, I'm not a Steve Jobs, or I'm not a Walt Disney, or, I'm not a Joan of Arc or a Mother Teresa. And I'm like, sure you are. But the level of it and the greatness of it isn't relevant. What's relevant is being yourself. In other words, every human being has resourcefulness. You're full of resources. You're full of truth. You're full of experience. You're full of integrity. You're full of honesty when you unlock that. You have gifts. You have an energetic profile that's there for a reason. This blueprint, and I can't get too deep into this, this is red pill pathway stuff. But with More Money Now, you start to open that up. How? Consistency. And consistency just means connect with something that matters, which is product. You can do product in 30 minutes, and that's enough. Do product in 30 minutes and go out and connect. The next video is about how, is about connect. Share the product. That's all you've got to do. Notice, deepen, and adjust. So this is a fluid process in motion. How is fluidity within the marketplace, not how to succeed. That never works. So there's a pivot moment where no matter how much you do More Money Now, you may become exhausted. And this is what happened with me, where I succeeded, and then that was followed with exhaustion. And that was when I had to do the pivot to a totally different way of living. Now that's the red pill pathway. So that's the moment of, wake up, Neo, the Matrix has you, follow the white rabbit, which leads to a later scene with the thunder in the background of Morpheus giving Neo the red pill. That's what that's about. However, you don't chase that. You don't want that unless it comes. And that's called the call to adventure moment. You got to listen to that. So if you're doing More Money Now and all of a sudden you feel like exhausted and you can't get through the exhaustion with what we're talking about, product, connect, ask, schmooze, and next, you have an existential crisis. You have a red pill crisis. You have a wake up crisis. That's different. And you're going to want to go down that road, because if you don't, it will make you go down its road. And the more you resist by trying to make things happen for yourself, even with the More Money Now approach here, the more exhausted you're going to get. So the quick start as you get into this is just tell everybody you meet what you have, who it's for, and why it matters. and then notice clarity, interest, and enthusiasm. So if you're one of these people on Facebook doing some kind of an affiliate program, you meet people on Facebook through chat. Instead of trying to sell them, don't think about that. Don't reach out to sell them. Don't be a fake friend. Don't say, hello, how are you? How are you? You don't care, really. Why would you care? Don't use automation to do that. It's not necessary. Don't use AI to do that. Just be there and say, hey, I've got this thing I'm working on. It's this. It's for people like this. And this is why I think it matters. And just share that and say, what do you think? Is this something that you think the market would be interested in? I noticed you like this, this, and this. If that's real, because you mean it, you'll get there. And you want to notice, is there clarity, interest, and enthusiasm on their part for the product that you've got? So part of product is getting that to the point where you can go do it. So the quick start and connect is being in the marketplace and doing that. And that's what we're going to talk about next is if you know what you're doing with the product, because it resonates with you, when you connect, you can stick to your guns. So instead of pushing and using how-to methods to get people to buy from you, you're thinking, how do I connect with them? But part of it is connecting deeper with yourself and saying, does this still connect with me? In other words, everything's an experiment. So maybe your entrepreneur experiment around product isn't there yet. And you're still not connected to the thing you've got. In other words, yourself, and how that is realizing itself in the world in the form of a product or a company. And you could be going in the wrong direction with the product, or the connect method isn't the right one for you. This is the work. The work is figuring this out, not figuring out how to succeed following in someone else's steps and buying some guru's how-to method. That's never going to work, just because simply those approaches just plain don't work. When you define work as having a feeling of prosperity where you want the success that comes, that feels inevitable, and when it comes, you have a feeling of arrival. It's like the end of Star Wars, where Luke is like, now it's time for the party. I earned this. And that's what you want. That's what we all want.